Hello everyone. So today we are going to represent the project that is the role of corporate social responsibility in consumer purchasing behavior. So please next slide. Yeah. So if you can see, the corporate social responsibility is not only the responsibility that the firms need to follow in order to make the business or to make the profit, but they need to follow in such a way that they can engage the stakeholder in such a way that they reduce the traditional approach and they can move toward the CSR, that is the economic, social, and environmental performance, which is the traditional and the combined the conventional approach with the TBL concept. The TBL considers the impact of the corporate activities on the planet, people, and the profit which is generated by the organization. Now, whatever the profit which is generated, the planet consists of the planet capital and the people consist of the human capital. Now, whatever the profit generated, the company needs to share the profit with the planet and the people. That's the environment and the society. So that is the most activity that the firm needs to follow. Then coming to the funds and the investment, so company need to engage their stakeholders to attract the funds and the investment in the domestic as well as in the international market. So please, yeah. So the consumers are now becoming more and more educated because of the education that they are getting. So they are becoming more aware about the corporate social responsibility, and now they want the product such a way that it will not be harming the environment. So because of the increased awareness towards the organization, the behavior of the society changing as well as the corporate must change their behaviors. So now our study helped the organization to better understand how the consumer patterns are changing for the CSR activities. So over to Deepak.
So yeah, coming to the research objectives, we have considered few research objectives which you are focusing on. So the first one is to inspect the role of corporate social responsibility in consumer purchasing behavior. The second one is to identify the factors that impact the role of CSR initiatives in the consumer purchasing decisions. And third one is the hypothesis testing, where we have considered a null and alternate hypothesis which you have tested, and it will be explained in detail by Prajot. So regarding this, we have floated a Google form which included the few research questions for the survey. So definitely we have not considered all the questions in our survey, but the few important questions I would like to mention here, like does the factors like gender, income play an important role in determining the role of CSR in consumer purchasing decision? Are people aware of the term CSR? Or does the company's CSR activities play an important role in consumer purchasing decision? Or are the customers willing to pay more if a company is engaging in more in CSR activities? And one of the questions is, what are the most important CSR areas the company should focus on? Like this, we have considered few 15 to 20 questions based on which we have conducted a survey. So yeah, next slide, please.
Herein, we will look at the secondary research that we did. So this secondary research consists of a benefits matrix. On the y-axis, we have the time frame, that is short term and long term, and on the x-axis, we have tangible or intangible benefits. So here, this is a case of Unilever, wherein Unilever had two CSR initiatives. First is Project Shakti, in which they empowered rural women across India under their micro entrepreneurs program. And in this, the result was, in short term, they increased their sales by $100 million and also generated employment for 42,000 rural women. In the long term, they achieved new rural distribution networks and also improved the health and living standards of those people. Some of the intangible benefits were that they enhanced the brand loyalty all in the long term, and in the short term, they educated and trained people and also improved their corporate reputation. In the second case, we'll look at Kericho, which is a place in Kenya, wherein there are many harassment or violence, gender-related harassment and violence activities that were going on in the plantations. So HUL took charge of it, and they supported safe and good environment for the women workers there. After doing this initiative, they realized the short-term benefit was that it improved their sales positively in selected countries. It also increased the income of the farmers. In the long term, they control the critical raw material supply and increase their brand strength. And it also the resource and environmental protection was also achieved. Some of the intangible benefits were corporate reputation and engaged healthy workforce. Over to you, Devashish.
So for addressing the various research questions that were a part of our presentation, we conducted a primary research wherein we floated a Google form consisting of the various questions, the answers to which were required from our respondents. And our analysis is based on the basis of the 51 responses that we have received. So one of the first questions that we wanted an answer for was like, will the respondent will switch products over CSR activities being undertaken by the organization? So around 62.5% of females stated that yes, they will switch their products over CSR activities being undertaken by the company, whereas around half of that of the female respondents, that is 30.23% of males stated that they would be able in a position to switch products over CSR activities. Hence, we can infer that females have a much higher tendency to switch companies on the basis of CSR activities as compared to males. If at all we analyze the same question on the basis of the income level being earned by our respondents, we can easily say that the high salaried individuals are less likely to switch products over the CSR activities being undertaken by the company, because from the graph we can easily see that around 75% of the individual respondents whose income is above 15 lakhs would not like to switch products over CSR activities of the company. Now, the next question that we asked to our respondents was that what are the most important CSR areas that companies should focus upon? So around 80.4% of our respondents stated that environmental sustainability is the most important issue, followed by 62.7% of respondents who stated that ethical labor practices are most important, followed by community involvement and charitable giving. Thus, if at all a company wants to really utilize the disposable income for CSR initiatives, they must really focus upon these aspects, because it is in tandem with the desires of the potential consumers. And the next question that we sought answer for was like, which of the following methods of communication is most stated for informing the consumers about the various CSR initiatives? So around 86.3% of respondents stated that social media is the most effective way of communication, followed by product packaging, which was around 64.7%, which was ultimately followed by website and advertisement. Thus, if at all a company really wants to make their initiatives heard in the global platform, social media is the most feasible way of doing so. And we also wanted to know if at all the consumers would be willing to pay more for a product if at all the company had strong CSR initiatives. So we got a response to the tune of like 27.45% of respondents stated that yes, they would be willing to pay more for a product, whereas a sizable population, that is 60.78% of respondents stated that they would not be willing to pay more, that they would not be sure if at all they would be in a position to spend more for a company that had strong CSR initiative. And we also tested if at all the respondents had a familiarity with the term of corporate social responsibility. So around more than half of our population sample stated that they are familiar with the term, whereas 40% of our population sample stated that they are somewhat familiar with the term, whereas a very less sizable population did not have any familiarity with the term of corporate social responsibility. Over to you, Prajot.
Yeah. So one of the important question which we put it in last of the Google survey was about influence of CSR activities on purchasing decision. So for that we got 50 responses. So we can consider like n is equals to 50. We calculated its sample mean, sample standard deviation, and we have considered significance level of 0.05 with 95% confidence interval. So while taking its response, we have floated research state from 1 to 7. So, and we have kept threshold as 4. So, we can say our null hypothesis that if the population mean is greater than or equal to 4, we will consider it as CSR activities has influence on purchasing decision of consumers. Whereas if it is less than 4, then it will become like alternate hypothesis where the CSR activities does not influence the purchasing decision of consumers. So, going ahead, we have used T distribution since as we have discussed in class, whenever the standard deviation of population is unknown, which is in our case, we will be using T distribution. So we calculated T using the formula shown, x bar minus mu upon sigma upon root n. Over here, n is the number of observations, which is 50, and mu and sigma, as we have calculated, it is the that of sample. Okay. And mu is 4, we have taken as the threshold value. After that, we got T calculated as minus 0.2987, and T at the rate 95 is the T value that is the critical value of P for 95% confidence interval that we got from Excel as minus 1.67. So by plotting these values, as you can see in the graph, it is a left tail test. Over here, the shaded area represents the rejection area, which is 5%. So as you can see that minus 0.298, that is T calculated lies inside the acceptance region and outside rejection region. We can fairly conclude that we'll be accepting the null hypothesis. But since the difference is not much big, we can say we can say with lesser conviction that CSR activities have influence on purchasing decision functions. So yes, thank you.